Hello my lovely bookish friends, and welcome back to another video. In this video I thought I'd share with you some of my favourite mangas. Now I love manga. I just find that they're such a fun medium, and because obviously it's mainly pictures, they are a great fast read for when you just want a bit of a pick-me-up or when you're in a bit of a reading slump. I often read mangas to get me out of them. It gets me back in the mood to pick up a book. And I have some really good ones to share with you, so let us get to the books.
First up is a manga that has appeared quite a few times on this channel, and it is one of my all-time favourites, Snow White with the Red Hair. It follows our main girl, who is a herbalist and lives in this kingdom where the prince is a bit of a dandy, and he finds out that she has red hair and wants to make her his mistress. But she ain't having any of that. So she leaves and ends up befriending the prince of the neighbouring kingdom, Zen, and becoming a royal herbalist in his country, and the story goes off from there. I absolutely adore this manga. It is also an anime and it's just so wholesome. Our main girl, whose name I'm not brave enough to attempt to pronounce, and to be honest there's going to be a few names in this that I just refer to as our girl or our main guy, as I just really can't pronounce Japanese names, I'm so sorry. Anyway, our main girl in this is just so smart and independent. Despite being best mates with a prince, she's just determined to chase her dreams, and she's got all the qualities that you just want in a great female character. And then Zen, our prince, he's just top tier, all the green flags, absolutely love him. I cannot stress enough how much I love this series. Please go and check it out. Next up is The Girl from the Other Side. Set in a world which is split between the inside and the outside, those living in both realms are told never to cross to the other side, lest they be cursed. A young girl called Shiva lives on the other side in a vacant village with a demonic guardian known only as Teacher. Although the two are forbidden to touch, they seem to share a bond that transcends their appearances. But when Shiva leaves Teacher's care to seek out her grandmother, the secret behind her mysterious living arrangement comes to light. The artwork in this manga is just stunning. It has a style that is very different from what we might consider traditional manga artwork, and it makes the story all the more beautiful and haunting. This manga is one that I haven't completed yet. I still have a few more volumes to go, but the world and the story really pulls you in, and I cannot wait to read the rest. Now this next manga is a classic. It is Death Note. It follows an ace student called Light who is bored out of his mind. But this all changes when he finds the Death Note, a notebook dropped by a rogue death god. Any human whose name is written in the Death notebook dies, and now Light has vowed to use this power to rid the world of evil. But when criminals begin dropping dead, the authorities send a legendary detective, L, to track down the killer. With L hot on his heels, will Light lose sight of his noble goal or his life? This manga is kind of legendary in its own way. It has had anime adaptations, films, and even a musical version, which I personally think is very sad that we never got it over here. It tried to get to Broadway, but it just, for whatever reason at the time, it didn't make it, even though it's been a massive hit in Japan and Korea. However, some of the English demos can still be found online of the songs, so who knows, maybe one day the English version will be revived. Anyway, this manga is naturally very dark, and most of the characters are very morally grey. It's the type of manga where you get sucked in due to the suspense and fast pace of the story, rather than because you love the characters. And I will say that some of the female characters are drawn for the male audience, shall we say, if you get what I mean, which is one of the things that I do dislike in a lot of manga. Switching back to wholesome and cool female characters, we have a saviour's book cafe in another world. Our lead character is swept up into another world where she's supposed to be the saviour and the chosen one to save the day. However, she's just not interested in any of that, so she sets up a magical book cafe instead, and the story goes off from there. This manga is so cute and wholesome, and I just want a magical book cafe. I really like the idea of having an older lead. Our main character is in her mid-30s, which whilst isn't old, is different compared to the usual teenage heroines. And because of this, it's part of the reason why she's not interested in being the hero. She just wants to have a book cafe And yeah, it's just a really fun and wholesome read. Next up is The Ancient Magus' Bride. I hope I've pronounced that right. It follows our main girl who has been neglected and abused her whole life and ends up at a slave auction where she's essentially brought by this strange man with the head of a beast who wields strange magic. He is a magus, a sorcerer with great power, who decides to free her from her captivity. However, he makes a bold statement saying that she is going to be his apprentice and also his bride. Now, I've watched the first season of the anime for this, and I've only kind of just got past that point in the manga. This manga is actually one that I'm still not 100% fixed on my opinions of. So far where I'm at, the whole bride part is more in name only, and she's really just his apprentice. But I don't know if that'll change later, but as it stands, it's not too weird. However, again, I'm not that big of a fan of how some of the female characters are drawn. Our main girl is alright, but some of the more mystical females, not so much. That said, the story is engaging and I am intrigued to see where it is going to go. Next up is A Race. This follows our main guy who gets sent back in time into 18 years into the past, into the body of his boyhood self. In doing so, he sees sights he never thought he'd see again, his mother alive and well, and his old friends, including a girl who was kidnapped and murdered when he was a boy the first time around. To return to the present and to prevent the tragedy that brought him back to his childhood in the first place, he begins plotting a way to change his friend's fate. But up against the clock and a faceless evil, does an 11-year-old boy even stand a chance? This manga is pretty intense and really quite cool. I also highly recommend the live-action drama version, which I believe is still on Netflix. That version is really good, and whether you watch it before or after reading the manga, I don't think it will ruin your experience, as some things are slightly different. The story is really what keeps you hooked, and if you watch the live action version, the children, like the child actors, they just are really good, and they really hold the show, especially the little girl. She's just adorable. Yeah, this manga is really an intense ride, but I highly recommend giving it a go. This next one is actually just a bit of fun, but I was flicking through it the other day and I thought, why not include this too? And it is Legend of Zelda, Oracle of Time. I really hope I said that right. Anyway, inspired by the video game series, this manga follows Link, who sets out on a quest to deliver the Emerald, a precious spiritual stone of the forest, to Zelda, the princess of the land of Kirkyu. The journey will be long and perilous, and Link will need all his skills and courage to defeat evil. As you may have seen in some of my vlogs, I love the games of Legend of Zelda, and there are actually quite a few different manga adaptations of the stories that are inspired by the game series, so they could be a lot of fun to check out even if you're not really that into the games. But naturally, if you like the games, then these mangas are even more fun, and then you should definitely go check them out. This next one is a manga adaptation of an anime movie, and it is Your Name. This follows a guy and a girl who are living completely separate lives, him a high school student in Tokyo and her a student in a town deep in the mountains. Their lives get strangely mixed together, however, when their souls start swapping bodies. As I said, this is a manga of a movie, so the film came first, and then there was a light novel, and then there was the manga. And the movie is just incredible. The last half an hour is literally just ridiculously intense, and the first time I watched it, I was just on the edge of my seat as I just couldn't work out how this would all end. It's honestly amazing. It's one of my all-time favourite films. However, again, one of the early scenes is a bit weird and obviously written by a man, but if you just get past that, then you're in for a real treat, and the manga is just the film in manga form, so it's totally worth checking out as well. On to our final two mangas for this video, and we have A Silent Voice. This follows our main guy who, when he was in, I think it's their middle school, he leads his peers into bullying a deaf classmate. She transfers schools, and as things go on, the main guy goes from being the bully to the bullied and is left completely alone. Years later, the pair meet, and our main guy sets out to redeem himself. He learns sign language to apologise for his behaviour, and so begins this kind of awkward friendship and relationship that will change both their lives forever. This story is beautifully written. As a disabled woman myself, I'm always extra critical and cautious when it comes to disabled characters and stories, but this one is actually very well done, and there's only one part which I wish could have been done differently, but overall it is very good. And our main guy is just such a great character. It's like my second favourite redemption arc storyline, beaten only by Zuko in Avatar. It's a really good redemption arc, and there is also a movie of this, which is very good, and this is a really beautiful story. I highly recommend checking this one out. Lastly, we have Orange. It follows our main girl who is in high school, and she receives this mysterious letter claiming to be from her 27-year-old self, and because of it her life is just thrown into a flux. The letter informs her that a new transfer student will be joining her class, and tells her to keep an eye on him. And that is all I'm going to say, as I think anything else will spoil the story. This manga is very heartfelt and moving. On the surface it seems like just a high school friendship romance story, but there's so much more to it than that, and especially as the story goes on, it looks a lot about regrets and the things that the characters wish they could have done differently, and it's just a really good story. And it's one that just stuck with me for a while after reading it. And again, there is a movie of this, a live action one this time, which is also great to watch along with or after you have read the manga.
So that was all of my manga recommendations. Now there are some other good ones that I am currently in the middle of reading, and some famous ones such as Choiho Ghoul and Assassination Classroom. I have not really finished these books or really got into these series yet, and so I didn't want to put them on my recommendations list because I haven't read far enough into their stories to be able to recommend them fully to you. I hope that you found some good mangas out of this. I hope maybe you found a new one to pick up and try, or perhaps you've just seen some of your favourites as well in this video. Please let me know in the comments below what you think of the mangas that I've shown you, and also if you have any other recommendations. Like I said, I really love manga. I am definitely more probably lean towards the kind of fantasy and kind of more wholesome vibes. There are some mangas that I don't necessarily like the way that they draw the female characters. I think that a little bit with Death Note, to be honest, and some of the others, that the way they draw female characters is a little bit not my cup of tea. But mangas even of like The Girl on the Other Side, and also The Saviour's Book Cafe in Another World, or yeah, that is how the title goes, that's such a long title, and Snow White with the Red Hair. Those types of mangas are definitely my favourites, so if you have any other recommendations like them, please let me know in the comments below. So that brings us to the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please consider liking and subscribing, as I have a lot more bookish content to come. Until next time, my lovely bookish friends, bye!